The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has just taken a deadly turn. The tension between these regions is presently at its peak as Russia reveals its new giant bomb that is unlike anything ever seen or developed before. This weapon of mass destruction possesses the insane ability to lay waste to its adversaries within seconds of impact, and its sheer existence has sent Ukraine and NATO into a state of panic. What are the capabilities of this new giant bomb? What impact would this weapon have on the war between these two regions? Join us as we delve into the explosive abilities of Russia's new giant bomb that can destroy Ukraine and NATO in just 3 seconds. Since the invasion in February 2014, the Russo-Ukrainian war has raged continuously and is still ongoing. This conflict started just after Ukraine's Revolution of Dignity, when Russia took control of Crimea from Ukraine and backed separatists in the Donbas region fighting against the Ukrainian military. It has involved naval clashes, cyber attacks, and increased political tensions. In February 2022, Russia escalated the conflict by invading Ukraine and seizing more territory. In those 2 years, Ukraine's advanced defense systems proved to be even more effective than Russia's military could handle. Even though they have 1/3 more frontline aircraft than Ukraine, Russia's aircraft were unable to achieve total air superiority, and this led to the country making strategic plans. During the initial month of the war, the Russian Air Force couldn't fly safely in the airspace controlled by Ukraine because they couldn't effectively neutralize Ukrainian defense systems. Flying over these areas was extremely risky for them. So the Russian ground troops had to take on most of the fighting themselves because the air support wasn't available. However, there have been significant changes after 2 years. Russia recognized its weaknesses and came up with a big idea that could really change the fate of the war. They made their huge and destructive bombs, called FAB bombs, even bigger than before. They also added wings and special guidance to turn them into smart bombs called glide bombs. These Russian glide bombs, known as the FAB 1500, are the most powerful in a group of old Soviet bombs. These bombs are being changed into smart guided bombs that can glide accurately to their targets. This change makes them able to fly farther and hit targets more precisely. Also, it's cheaper to change these bombs than to make new guided missiles. These bombs weigh 3,300 pounds, which is very big. They are 6 times larger than Ukraine's own glide bombs, called JDAM-ER bombs. But that doesn't mean the JDAM-ERs are small. Even one of these American bombs, which weigh a few hundred pounds, can destroy a strong building or bridge. So the JDAM-ERs are not small, it's just that this Russian bomb is really huge. About half of the FAB 1500 weight, around 1,600 pounds, is made of powerful explosives that can cause a lot of damage. Now, Russian fighter jets and bombers can launch these glide bombs at targets from 25 miles away without needing to get close. This distance is too far for Ukraine's air defense systems to effectively respond. So Russia can freely attack Ukrainian targets as they wish. And that's what they did. Using bomb after bomb, the Russians destroyed hundreds of tall buildings that Ukrainian forces used for observing and firing at Russian forces. By May 2023, Russia was still using UMPK-equipped FAB 500 glide bombs in Ukraine. They dropped about 20 of these bombs every day, and Ukraine's air defenses couldn't stop them. Russian pilots started learning how to use these bombs more in November 2023. According to the Institute for the Study of War, one of these bombs can hold up to 150 kilograms of explosives. It can destroy buildings, warehouses, and strong concrete structures within a radius of 250 meters. During the worst part of the bombing just a month ago, Russian Sukhoi S-34 fighter bombers, often accompanied by Sukhoi S-35 fighters, dropped over 250 of these bombs in just 48 hours, laying waste to several areas in Ukraine. These bombs are silent when they fly and cause huge explosions like nuclear bombs when they hit, quickly destroying tall buildings and leaving big holes in the ground. Ukraine's 110th Brigade had to leave because they had no protection. Then about 12 Russian soldiers moved in. The bomb was also used a lot in Afghanistan by Soviet and Afghan forces in the 1980s. It was also used in the Syrian civil war by Russian and Syrian planes. In 2022, a version of this bomb was used by Russian military forces in the invasion of Ukraine. Some of these bombs were found in Ukrainian cities in March and May 2022. In March 2022, Russian planes called Su-35C dropped FAB 500 M62 bombs, which seemed to have a special kit with wings that popped out. It's not clear if these bombs had a navigation system inside them or if the wings were just to make them fly farther, up to about 70 kilometers. It is believed that these bombs let Russian planes attack Ukrainian targets from a distance without getting close enough to Ukrainian air defenses. This destruction caused by these bombs was meant to make Ukrainian soldiers lose hope and courage. That aside, the impact created huge craters that are 50 feet wide, causing terrible damage. However, one problem with this bomb is that it's not very accurate. The glide bomb might land up to 40 feet away from where it's supposed to. This is not as precise as the JDAM-ER, which usually lands within a 15-foot radius of its target. But even if the Russian bomb doesn't hit exactly, it's so powerful that it can still destroy its target from a distance. Another problem Russia might have with this bomb is its big size. Even though it's big, powerful, and can hold a lot of explosives. But because it's so big, it's hard to put on its wings and carry it around. To turn it into a glide bomb, the FAB-1 500 needs a stronger wing kit than the smaller FAB-250 and FAB-500 bombs. This also makes the bomb bulky, so the Sukhoi S-34 fighter bomber can only carry 2 at a time. The plane has to use a lot of power to fly high enough to use the bomb's new 25-meter range. Even though there are some problems with the bomb, the Russian Air Force is still using it a lot, and they don't plan to stop soon. In fact, they are making more kits so that they can use more guided FABs to cause more damage in Ukraine. Ukraine really needs one defense system to stop this. This is where the Patriot air defense system comes in handy. When a big threat comes towards the United States, Ukraine, Germany, Japan, Israel, and lots of other countries, they make use of the MIM-104 Patriot air defense system. This system finds and follows threats using really good radar systems. Then, it figures out where the threat will go next and sends a missile to stop it. It's like a quarterback throwing a ball to where the player will be, not where they are right now. And this makes the Patriot system really accurate. It's one of the first systems in the United States Department of Defense to work without people. When this system is used, it can stop threats that are up to 100 miles away, so the targets stay safe. This was probably the first time in 2 years of fighting that the Russian Air Force had such a big role in fighting on the ground. But they lost some planes too. On Saturday, February 17, a Ukrainian missile battery, probably one of 3 batteries with US-made Patriot missiles, shot down 3 Russian Sukhoi aircraft 60 miles east of Iva. The Ukrainian military said they shot down a 4th one the next day, on Sunday. So Patriot air defense missiles can stop Russia's new way of attacking after all. This might be the solution Ukraine is looking for. To shoot down both the Russian bombs and the planes that dropped them, there are fewer than 90 Patriots available. But Ukraine really needs more Patriots from the United States to survive. But it's uncertain if Congress will agree to give Ukraine more money for Patriots. Meanwhile, European F-60 fighter jets planned to go to Ukraine are predicted to reach the country and counter Russian Air Force jets that dropped the bombs. Though challenging, this is essential, or else Russia might use the same tactic in other parts of the 600-mile front line. The best option for Ukraine is still the Patriots. They can intercept not only the Russian fighters launching the bombs, but also the bombs themselves, including the FAB-500 and the FAB-1 500. Over 10,000 Patriot-guided missiles of numerous variants have been built, each one costing between $1 million to $6 million, and each one capable of threatening the dominance of Russia's FAB-1 500 bombs in Ukraine. The overall Patriot system costs up to $2.3 billion per battery, costly but effective. The Patriot air defense system is an American-made air defense system protecting skies around the world. With Russia's air superiority prowess finally hatching to its fearsome potential, this system may be Ukraine's only hope of not being obliterated in the ongoing war. Aside from these formidable glide bombs, Russia has one of the most advanced bombers in its possession. The Tupolev Tu-22, also known as Backfire, is a fast, long-range bomber developed by Tupolev in the 1960s. It has adjustable wings and can fly at supersonic speeds. During the Cold War, it was used by the Soviet air forces for strategic bombing and by the Soviet naval aviation for maritime anti-ship missions. In 2021, there were 66 of these planes still in use. In 1962, it became clear that the Tupolev Tu-22 bomber wasn't working well. It had many problems with maintenance, flying, and landing safely. So Tupolev started updating it by adding adjustable wings and better engines. Meanwhile, Sukhoi was working on a new fast plane called the T-4. Tupolev wanted to improve their bomber to compete, so they presented the Tu-22M as just an upgrade to the Tu-22 to the government. This made it easier to get approval and funding. The Tu-22M was similar to the Tu-22, but with better features. The Soviet Union used the Tu-22M name during arms control talks to make it seem like it was just a modification of the Tu-22. Some people think this was to hide its true capabilities. The US government also calls it the backfire. In total, 497 Tu-22M planes were made. In 1990, there was an effort to make the Tu-22M better, called Adaptation 45.03, but it was stopped before it could be finished. In 2007, they started working on a new radar called NV-45 for the Tu-22M. They tested it in 2008 and later added it to 4 more planes in 2014 to 2015. In 2014, they signed a contract to upgrade the bomber, which included adding a new radar, navigation equipment, and other new systems. They also planned to improve its weapons by adding new missiles. Deliveries were supposed to start in 2021. In May 2022, they tested a new hypersonic missile from a Tu-20M-3M. Another upgrade program, called SVP-2422, started in 2018, focusing on better navigation and bombing accuracy using technology from the Sukhoi Su-24 attack aircraft. In September 2023, it was reported that the Tu-22M-3 was modified to carry a missile with a heavier payload. These new improvements in Russia's military arsenal has put a lot of pressure on their rivals and adversaries. Ukraine, being the major country in Russia's line of fire, has expressed its concerns. President Zelensky mentioned that Ukraine couldn't stop a Russian missile attack last week because they didn't have enough air defense missiles. This attack destroyed the biggest power plant near Kyiv. Zelensky's comments show how serious the situation is for Ukraine as Russia increases its attacks on their energy system. He explained that there were 11 missiles, they destroyed 7, but the remaining 4 hit Trypillion because they didn't have any more missiles to defend it. Reuters couldn't confirm if Zelensky's story is true. Earlier, Zelensky said Ukraine had to decide what to protect because they might run out of defensive missiles if Russian attacks keep happening. In recent attacks, Ukraine lost around 7 gigawatts of power generation, with big power plants and transmission lines badly damaged. Moscow claims the attacks are to weaken Ukraine's ability to fight back and are in response to recent attacks in Russia. Western allies haven't been eager to send more air defenses to Ukraine, even though Ukraine says it needs 25 Patriot systems to protect its land properly. Germany agreed to send another system after urgent requests from Kyiv. However, Ukraine is not alone in its war with Russia because the United States has openly supported this country by providing it with advanced weapons and aids. Recently, the White House under Joe Biden has mentioned that it is ready to give Ukraine long-distance missiles if Congress approves and passes a new funding plan. NBC News explained that they might send a type of missile called ATACMS if Congress agrees to a $60 billion aid plan, which is currently stuck because some Republicans in Congress haven't approved it yet. Ukraine's President, Volodymyr Zelensky, said Russia is taking advantage of the delays in getting aid to Ukraine. He mentioned this after going to the front line in Kupiansk, an area Ukraine took back in 2022, but where Russian forces have been active recently. Zelensky said the situation is really tough in some frontline areas where Russian troops are concentrated. He explained that Russia is exploiting the delays in getting aid to Ukraine, which is a big problem. There's a shortage of artillery, the front line needs better air defense, and longer-range weapons. In October, the U.S. agreed to send short-distance versions of the missiles, but Ukraine promised not to use them against Russia. Later, Zelensky said the weapons worked well. The updated types of missiles that the Biden administration plans to send to Ukraine can travel up to about 200 miles and usually carry small bombs that spread out, letting Ukrainian forces attack the Crimean Peninsula. According to officials who spoke with NBC anonymously, it was possible that the U.S. would request that NATO allies provide the missiles to Ukraine against the expectation that the American government would refill depleted stockpiles. Ukraine's defense minister, Rustem Umerov, recently said that the capture of Avdiivka by Russian forces proved that they need more long-distance weapons to fight the enemy. A statement from the U.S. State Department before a meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba in Munich mentioned they plan to talk about urgent matters like ammunition, air defense, and long-distance weapons. Kuleba later said he had discussed the supply of long-range ATACMS with his U.S. counterpart at a meeting on Saturday, calling the system an important symbol to Ukrainians who had been defending themselves from the invasion Russia launched in February 2022. He explained that there is only one way to weaken Russia's power in Ukraine. One would have to strike deep into the areas they control, avoiding their electronic warfare and defense systems. He also added that if one wants to attack their supply lines, disrupt their logistics, and destroy their weapon storage, there would be the need for long-distance missiles. In October, after these missiles were reportedly used to target helicopters in areas controlled by Russia, Vladimir Putin reportedly criticized the United States for sending them to Kyiv, reportedly calling it another mistake. Putin mentioned that he knows war is serious and he thinks the missiles are dangerous, but he believes they can't change the situation much at the front line. Unfortunately, the United States Defense Department spokesperson told NBC that they do not have enough money to send more military stuff to Ukraine right now. They might have some later, but they cannot say for sure. However, Canada's Defense Minister, Bill Blair, announced that Canada will give Ukraine over 800 Skyranger R-70 drones to help them. Since its release in 2013, the Skyranger R-60 has captured real-time aerial intelligence across 30 countries for well over 100,000 collective hours of operation. The world's most demanding UAS operators have come to rely on the Skyranger when lives and livelihoods hang in the balance. With the new Skyranger R-70, Ariane is pushing the small UAS performance envelope with more computing power, more payload capacity, and more advanced software features, delivering a broader range of mission capabilities. In a wider set of environments, the drone is redefining what's possible with a man-packable UAS. The drone carries a suite of long-range, high-resolution, stabilized daylight and IR imaging payloads. A front-mounted dual EO/IR provides wide-angle day and night situational awareness and a piloting view when used with non-optical payloads. With automatic in-air replacement, operators can maintain persistent eyes on target by swapping multiple RR-70s in real time. A field-installable power tether, available later this year, will enable sustained fixed location overwatch for FOB security or similar missions. Blair believes that by giving Ukraine drones, they can find and know about important targets in their fight. Canada plans to support Ukraine for as long as the country requires assistance in its war against Ukraine. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.